right, them fantasies, them fantasies. What can we talk about with them fantasies? Well, I think the first thing I want to bring up is what is the sauce that you guys put in literally everything?
Well, let's see here. It was, I believe, the first person to use the term. I think was Gucci Mane, actually, and it's like we've adapted it to be like it's the sauce is kind of like the uniqueness and like the kind of the sweetness that I think that we add to things in terms of like whether it be because we're all like proficiently trained session musicians and stuff like whether that be like maybe complexity on an instrument served in like a nice little soothing way with a chaser or something like that. The sauce is essentially just something that sets us apart sonically, harmonically, rhythmically, whatever it is. So we like to emphasize that we got some sauce to differentiate us from other bands.
Same thing as like sprinkles on top or like
Yeah.
spice,
The Salt Bay,
Gotcha.
Yeah.
It's like the final touch, you would say.
Exactly.
Oh yeah.
You gonna do the Salt Bay thing for your TikToks?
Oh,
We should
maybe.
do that.
Yeah, we could.
Yeah,
We can't sprinkle salt though. We would need something else to sprinkle.
like tahini.
Tahini. Yeah, we'll use
Out here in
tahini.
LA, we can sprinkle some tahini.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Got some ideas for content there.
Yeah.
And I noticed in your bio too that Dom and Eric specifically, you mentioned how you had different musical backgrounds when you were starting to get together and form this band. So how are you able to kind of come together and blend the different styles that you guys like?
Well, we usually, I think it kind of comes in between like whether or not like we'll have some different like chords and things. We'll start writing together and we'll both come up with kind of like chord progressions. And Eric is a jazz player, so everything he really touches on the guitar, you can tell he's come from like a little bit more training.
I'm not really interested in putting power chords in the mix. I like my nice chords with tensions and stuff, but we both come from like I come from jazz and a blues background. Dom comes from like grunge and 90s rock. And so both are like, kind of not just diatonic. Like we can find similarities within the music that we like, and a lot of it has to do with like interesting harmony, and interesting rhythms. So that's something that like we grasped onto early on as a writing duo. And
Yeah. So, and we've been mixing those rock roots more recently. Been mixing them with a lot of funk and pop influences for sure.
Cool. That's awesome. So
Yeah.
would you say, Eric, would you say, like you said, more like classic rock, like indie, that kind of realm is where you're from?
Yeah, I grew up on classic rock, like 100%. And then as I got to Berklee and, Dom and I's music tastes collided, we showed each other a bunch of stuff. We got more interested in more modern forms of music as well. Like modern funk, modern indie rock is a big influence on us now. And obviously funk and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you, Max? What would you say?
Man, I kind of came halfway between the two of them because I grew up with a lot of like indie rock. Like big bands for me were like Young the Giant, Cold War Kids, like even smaller bands like Surfer Blood. But I also have a jazz background like Eric, and I obsessed over like the Red Hot Chili Peppers and like, older kind of funk as well. So I can fit kind of nice somewhere in the middle between these two.
Yeah.
And I know what they're both talking about, which is the biggest advantage.
Yeah. It's important when you guys are coming together. Yeah.
Yeah. 1,000%.
And when I was listening to your music, Dom, you're the lead singer, right? Just to clarify.
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone has ever told you this, but have you gotten comparisons to Patrick Stump from Fall Out Boy?
I have. I've gotten that in Brandon Urie a lot from Panic.
That's literally the two exact people that I thought of too when I was listening to you guys' music. I was like, I hope that's a compliment for you.
No, it is. I like both of their voices, so it's definitely good to hear.
No, that's awesome. Yeah, I texted a friend who likes Fall Out Boy, and I go, "Do you think he sounds like?" She's like, "Yeah, he does." I was like, "That's what I thought."
Okay, cool. Had to fact check real quick.
Yeah, had to fact check. And another band that I kind of noticed too, with one of your songs specifically, also called Them Fantasies. You guys kind of had a little bit of like a reggae vibe, and a band that I thought of specifically when I heard that was No Doubt. Would you say that's another band that's influenced you?
I think we feel No Doubt's influence through other bands. I don't think we necessarily get that directly from the source, but
we like ska.
Yeah, ska's definitely fun.
I'm a ska boy for sure.
And Dom and I we're very into reggae. We listen and play a lot of reggae.
Yeah.
Actually. So that's definitely an influence that doesn't come out as much in our style of music, but every once in a while you will hear it.
Yeah, we especially have fun just like jamming on it.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
And we both played a little bit at school. Dom played a lot more It's cool to me.
Learning
Like
about
you played, I was gonna say you played like reggae at school.
Yeah, I was in. We're both of us we're in different classes, but in a reggae dub ensemble. So we learned a lot of things. You know, when people are getting into reggae, you know, they usually start with Bob Marley, which is great. But like we learned past a lot of that. You know, got into some really cool bands like the Tamlins and Groundation, and you know other reggae and other people that are coming out of Kingston, which was really nice to learn. You know, learn it from a different source besides Bob Marley. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No,
So
that's cool. Like there's so much, I feel like there's so much culture behind reggae music and all that stuff.
Definitely, yeah.
That's so cool. I didn't know you guys had reggae courses at Berklee.
Yeah,
cool.
they were electives. I wouldn't change it for the world. The groove is just so different than a lot of Western music, you know, that we listen to here, and the meter and feel is just it's entirely flipped upside down, which is really intriguing. I
It
think
was super hard for me to learn because like fundamentally like Dom hangs like behind my like, so I'm laying down like a foundation of a groove, but Dom like is like dragging behind, and like it fits together like a jigsaw, and I'm very used to being both of us like very
tight.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the bass player of that was or the leader.
Yeah, our teacher kicked my ass. He was a bass player from Trinidad.
Oh, cool.
Winston, his name was
McCoy.
Yeah, McCoy. Winston McCoy. He's a great teacher. Yeah.
Great jazz player too.
Awesome. That's sick. Wow, that's really cool. And I noticed you guys put out a video earlier this year for your song Hookup Culture, and you talked about it having like the twist with the whole pandemic and just showcasing dating during COVID and whatnot. How did you try to like take those themes with the pandemic and put them into the video? Like what did you try to do specifically to show that?
That video was a process.
Yeah, I mean, that was a nightmare.
We started it. It was Emerson Dunn. We did it with Chandler Jenkins, was like kind of head producer of it.
And and Daniel Keaton.
Yeah. So we actually, that song came out on our album that came out like 2 years ago, and we had plans with them and everything to do a different music video, like a kind of a different concept that was more based around like partying and like the hookup culture at like college parties.
Mm-hmm.
And we had to scrap that when COVID came because
we're not going to get a
couldn't
party.
have 40 people in a room to shoot a music video. So we had to scrap that entire idea. And we were like, well, you know what? Like, you guys are still willing to work with us. We still want to make this. Let's make it relevant. Let's make it about trying to date in COVID. You know, the people can be wearing masks. It's a little bit difficult for the actors because they have to show a lot of facial features without using their mouth, which is pretty difficult. But
you gotta be very expressive.
Had to overcome and adapt.
But it was a good process throughout the video. I mean, we shot it all in like
a weekend,
and it was a long day. I mean, we had 3 locations. We were in Boston, rooftop, park, and then your guys' old apartment. And we just were trying to go like, okay, dating is weird during the pandemic, because that was like when after the first wave, so we were thinking things were gonna get like a little bit better. Like, oh man, we don't even know if masks will be relevant when we put out this video. So like,
psych,
ended up being real.
It's like, look where we are.
Yeah, exactly.
So
it was fun, kind of being like, okay, we're either. I mean, it wasn't fun, but what it came down to was we're either going to scrap this video and this opportunity to work with these people, or we're going to do something that works, you know? So it was really nice kind of being like, you know, guys, like, you know, I still really want to do the video. We should still do this. We just have to adapt and overcome. And I feel like that's so prevalent to like so many other things besides just filming that video, you know, not even just the pandemic. It's like, it comes down to just like not really taking no for an answer, you know, like, and it ended up proving really nice for us to get a video out of it. Got some great friends and connections that are also actors.
Got us used to being under a camera as well.
Yeah.
Like, because we've just been filming ourselves so much recently.
Yeah.
And that was kind of the start of it, really.
Exactly. And since then, we've been able to find some cool success on TikToks and making a bunch of camera, you know, content and things like that. So we've definitely gotten a lot more comfortable, gotten these guys up to speed and everything.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, for sure. Definitely that presence is important for you guys building your brand. And something else with the video that I wanted to bring up is that, you know, it does reflect like the times that we're in. And I think that was your intention with it. And would you consider yourselves a group that tries or like has this, has the means to show or reflect the times in your music, like intentionally? Or was that just kind of an afterthought that you had? Like, yeah, we like reflected the times in our music.
I'm sorry, could you rephrase that question one more time?
Yeah. Yeah. Do you try to reflect the times in your music, and is it important for you guys to do that?
I think for hookup culture, I mean, because we didn't originally plan on doing it based around the pandemic, it just happened. The concept of the song was able to make sense during the pandemic. It's more not necessarily commenting on the times, but like our times, like our what is happening in our lives presently, and whether or not that uh, pertains to like other world events happening. I don't necessarily think that one was specifically intended. But there are times that we do, like we have a song called "Nothing But the Screen" that was definitely like, all right, we're gonna comment on people's use of technology and their phones in this generation, this year.
Yeah. I think at the end of the day, a lot of art, whether or not we intend for it to be a sign of the times or not, a lot of the times it is,
Hmm.
like even if you don't try to date it, even if you try to make something timeless, it's always going to be a reflection of what culture is like right then, not even just in our medium, in other mediums as well.
Yeah, because we're grabbing influences from everyday life as well as our musical influences, and that's going to show up in our writing, whether it's subconscious or subconsciously.
Yeah. And what other topics do you guys typically find yourselves covering in your music? You mentioned technology a little bit.
Yeah, that was a little more of a one-off, I think. Maybe we'll do it again. I don't know. Um, what do you think? Like, yeah, go for it.
Sorry. I mean, an upcoming release is like, we got a batch of songs coming up, and I think we've been talking more about like kind of internally about how we feel opposed to how other people feel in a sense. At least two big songs for our next one is like one is about our relationship with home and how it's been kind of weird since we all left our hometowns, went to Boston, which is relatively far away from me and Dom, pretty far away for Eric. I mean, he can drive there. In a sense, he's just New Englander, but we've just been trying to deal with themes of like home and then our interpersonal relationships with our friends. But we also have themes of like relationships between two friends as well. So everything we're trying to write is from our perspective, at least in this kind of state that we're in.
Hmm.
Absolutely. And a lot of it also stems from like, something that all the three of us have really wanted to work on, especially for this next upcoming releases, harder and stronger like lyrics and lyric chops and things like that.
Concepts in general that
Yeah,
are more uniting overall.
exactly. So, and I find personally it's a little easier to really dive in deep when it's something a little more personal to you, you
Hmm.
know. So it's always going to be a journey. We're always going to be writing different stuff, but as of right now, we're really kind of looking into ourselves, I think, and I really like where it's going.
Sounds very introspective of you guys.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, no, I like that too. Like that personal component, if you can reach that within yourselves, it'll show in your audience members. Like they'll come back and they'll feel the same way.
Of course, and if you strike on something personal yourself, we have problems, but like a lot of them are not very unique problems. A lot of other people will feel those things too. A lot of other people have the issue of going back home after school or after you move to a new city, going back to your hometown, seeing everything's different, seeing that it doesn't feel like home anymore. That's not a unique problem to us. That's something that I think a lot of people can relate to.
Yeah, for sure, definitely. One song I want to ask you about specifically that I saw you mention a little bit in, I think on your website, is the song Acid Anna. And you kind of talked about it as being like putting you guys out of your comfort zone. And it sounds like maybe that changed your trajectory or your style as a band. Would you agree with that? Or was there something else with that song that kind of was a big moment for you guys?
I mean, musically or lyrically, because they're both pretty interesting moments for us. We, musically, that was the first song that we decided to experiment with more like electronic drums and more aspects of production. We stopped writing, and for that song, we wrote the song with our instrumental parts and with lyrics, and it really came alive in the studio. And we started to realize there's a lot that we can add that will enhance our music. That is not necessarily us putting more music into the song; it's production aspects.
Yeah.
So that was, as far as musically, that was pretty big.
Lyrically, it was a little more interesting. No hold. I'm not gonna hold any bars back. We definitely wrote that after a trip in the Boston Commons. And I don't really know if I want to go there lyrically again. It was nice and it was fun doing it, but to me that song means a little more musically. I think to me at least. That I think we really found a new kind of production sense in that, and it's definitely something that you'll hear on our next batch of songs. That you will hear a lot more of.
Yeah, I think lyrically it's a fun song. We definitely took the experience that we had and wrote about it.
Yeah.
It's not an everyday experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, to say the least. Yeah. If you could just tell by the name, it's not an everyday experience.
Yeah,
Definitely not. we weren't very subtle with that one.
And we were just having fun at the end of the day too. So some of those songs on Caffeine Queen, we're just some of those we wrote when we were 18 years old, 19,
Yeah.
our freshman year, and then they got released 2-3 years later, and we were a lot of the time looking back on it, we're very much so different writers than we were then, and we were just having some fun.
We love the songs, but we're progressing.
Yeah.
I like to think.
For sure. And you guys have also been on a few tours, I noticed as well, including one in Spain when you guys were studying abroad. Like, that's pretty cool. What was it like? Well, first, let me ask, was that the first time? Which one was your first tour that you went on in Boston or in the US?
Yeah, we were playing around different places in Spain, I think, before we did our more DIY ones.
Gotcha.
The Midwest and the South. They were a lot of fun. All of them were very, very different experiences. I think the most fun I had on there, they're just so different,
Yeah.
The Spanish ones were a little more put together, and we played for more people, and there were more people kind of interested in what we were doing. So that's really gratifying. But the other DIY ones, we're just playing venues of under 20 people and
sleeping on the floor.
Putting in groundwork. I wouldn't.
The
trade.
Classic early musician
right. Yeah.
Eating bread every day, barely eating bread.
But it was fun too. It's it's kind of grimy and dirty, and you're sleeping in weird places. You're not sleeping.
Max is like, I would go back any day, guys. Come on.
Max is waiting to do another DIY tour for us to barely cut even.
Well, did it feel different, or I would say more personal, being in the Boston area, because that's kind of where you guys came up and started?
Definitely. I mean, it definitely was easier for us to have shows and get more people out. So in that way, playing music not only for more people, but for more people in the audience that we personally knew, it definitely felt more personally. Like when we were on tour, we play for people that they showed up to our gig and they don't live in our town. We don't know who they are.
There were a few people that did that. That was some of the more gratifying parts of that tour. We're meeting people. Hey, I saw you on Spotify. We liked what you did, so we came out. And that was really fun. It was really cool to see that.
It was really cool to see that.
Yeah, but
you're people are listening to us. That's sick.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool.
But Boston will always have a place in our hearts. I'm from New England, so it'll always have a place in my heart. Yeah, Boston's definitely our personal city for us, I think.
Yeah, it's weird because it's we are totally all from different places. He's the only one from New England. Eric is.
Mm-hmm.
So we met in Boston, started playing in Boston, but we also it's because we went to school there. It wouldn't be any other reason besides us going to school there. So it's weird. We're kind of now we're in a different city now here in Los Angeles, and it's weird. It's where are we from? Where are we? What do we do?
I don't feel like we're. I don't know. I feel like we're from school.
It's weird. We don't. I think Boston makes sense. It makes the most sense. I think. Yeah, it makes the most sense.
It was the starting point for you guys. Yeah.
Yeah, that's Eric's home. So it's definitely a little more personal there, of course. But for us, it's I don't know. We're from nowhere, I guess.
I'm from Columbus, Ohio, home of the Four Loko.
Columbus, you said?
Columbus.
Okay.
I didn't know that was the home of the Four Loko. I want to go there.
Invented there. It's the perfect drink for any occasion.
Oh my god, yeah. I mean,
when it first started, it had all that caffeine too.
People were dying.
Yeah, dude. All right, side story. I drank 2 Four Locos one time in undergrad as a pregame.
Nice.
I don't know how I didn't die.
You just drank 2 Four Locos.
That's 8 years.
Yeah, just a casual Thursday night.
There you go. Thirsty Thursday.
We had a buddy who used to be able to shotgun Four Locos.
Oh no, absolutely not. I think that would kill me in a
Trash.
Trash. Yeah, even. But mentioning LA now, why did you guys decide to relocate there?
Totally.
A lot of reasons.
Yeah, there's a lot of reasons. For me, I mean, I have some family members out here. Both my cousin and my aunt live out here. You got some family in Southern California as well. But also, the scene out here is just far. I think at least for what we do in the direction that we're going with more funk and alternative pop influence with our rock, is definitely LA. It seems like kind of the place where we can kind of really express ourselves in that scene.
There's a lot of connections out here. About half of our whole school basically moves out here. So we came to LA and immediately had 50, 100 people that we know, people that we can work with, people that we know will show up to our shows and we'll show up to theirs.
Wow.
We basically have a built-in community already there before we even showed up. So
Yeah.
that was pretty nice. Also, like, not to rip on Boston because we love Boston, but the music scene definitely doesn't really have what we were looking for at a certain point.
No way. Yeah.
There's a lack of mid-range venues and stuff that make it impossible to go from like 150, 200 cap to like 500.
Mm-hmm.
And with the college scene and whatnot, it's very difficult to get, past a certain level. I think in Boston alone, maybe that was just our experience, but LA will probably be much better to us.
Yeah, LA still, has its fair share of scummy promoters, of course, but in Boston, especially around the Berklee scene, I'm not going to name any specific venues or anything, but there are some scum of the earth promoters that are like, oh, you're going to play this place for free. You're going to sell this many tickets before, and if you don't, you're going to pay for it. Like,
or if you don't, you're a Berklee kid, and every other Berklee kid wants a gig, so you're
yeah,
exactly.
It's a lot of competition in that sense too. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a pretty saturated music scene in Boston, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm. And that's like an interesting concept, Dom, that you brought up, like the paying. Like if you can't afford it, well, you're still gonna pay, or like you're not gonna get paid. Like it's kind of like new money versus old money in a way, like West Coast versus East Coast.
Yeah.
There's still, don't get me wrong, I'm sure there are plenty of venues that we will probably play that have promoters like that. You know what I mean? But like at the end of the day in Boston, it was just kind of relentless, we found. And it definitely did not have what we were looking for. A lot of the venues closed, even way before the pandemic. It's even worse during the pandemic now.
Mm-hmm.
But there's just so much opportunity here in LA. Everyone out here is an artist in some shape or form.
We've already met so many new friends too through our TikTok that we're collaborating with people both here and also in Melbourne and
oh wow.
And somebody just moved to Israel now that we're gonna collaborate with too as well.
Cool. Sounds awesome. Got a lot of things going on for you.
Yeah, starting to pick up a little bit, so it feels very nice.
That's cool. I want to talk about your debut album, and you guys got a lot of praise for it from what I noticed. Like you had a lot of different press features. One of them was from V Magazine, and they called your music, or they said that your music gets you up and vibing while simultaneously reminiscing on your past loves. This other blog said that you guys have this uncanny ability to delve into a world of your own. Another publication said you guys have an unquenchable aroma of jazz and hints of pop. Like that's a lot. Like what was your reaction to that kind of praise? Like that's really awesome.
I mean, that was our first release that we were very happy with. We released an earlier EP like way back in 2018, and it was just kind of our first thing we put out, and we grew a lot after that. So we put a lot of time. A lot of these songs on our debut album had been written for a year, if not for 2 years, before we released it. So we were very proud of the work, and it definitely was nice to have people corroborate our happiness with our own work with that. So it was definitely an ego boost to hear. Yeah, for sure.
Nice people to say nice things like that. We definitely have a lot of influences, I think. So it's cool that those things can be recognized, because we take a lot of pride in how much different music we listen to and what we try to put in to make something kind of cohesive, So it's cool to hear those things.
Yeah, for sure. I was impressed reading them. I'll say I was very impressed. I was like, wow, they got some really cool things going on here. What was it like working with your producer? Because you also mentioned him by name and how, that helped with your styles. I believe his name is Nick Smith on your debut album, Caffeine Queen. So what was it like working with him?
Well, we live with him now.
Now we live together.
Oh shoot! Is he gonna walk in and be like, "What are you talking about me?"
Yeah, right. No, he left. He had to go. He had to go on a soul searching mission at Starbucks.
Gotta get those refreshers.
Yeah, that's deep soul diving. But we really, really like working with him because he has just such a great, sensible knowledge of actually a lot of EDM and house music, and also as well as like very contemporary pop music. So and our R&B as well. But as a producing standpoint, we really like how he can take our songs and just have so many different production elements that will make it sound so contemporary in ways that we wouldn't be able to make ourselves, I don't think, without without just playing acoustic instruments, you know?
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, it's definitely important for us because we know that, like, unfortunately, the word rock sometimes can have a boomer meaning, and a lot
Yeah.
of times, in a lot of bands that we've played with, we've worked with, we've listened to, their music is great, but the mix itself and the way it sounds doesn't sound like it's from 2020. It
Yeah.
sounds like it's a little bit older, and we wanted our music to be reflective of
Of current
of current
times, yeah,
times, and
yeah.
so we wanted to bring our style of rock and funk and all pop with modern production, and modern production a lot of times is influenced by EDM and pop music. So
Mm.
having him with that just adds another element to our music that we think takes it to a whole nother level.
Yeah, cool. And we've definitely touched upon this a little bit throughout our talk, but how have you been able to stay positive about music and putting out music during the pandemic? Like it's been tough, as you guys have mentioned.
Well, I think this next batch of songs that we actually haven't really announced that we're doing yet. So this is one of the first we've really
Okay.
told people. But this next batch of a bunch of singles and an EP, I think we really believe in it. I think we really, really believe in the progress that we've made as songwriters, even since Caffeine Queen. You know what you've been listening to and what other people can listen to. You know, we're really, really stoked to put out a new kind of era of the band and our brand and everything. So I think that's kind of what keeps us really positive about it, knowing that there's more and better things that have to come.
Yeah, and knowing that it's not going to be forever until live shows come back up. We're at our core, we are performers.
Yeah.
We love playing live. That's where I think we shine best in our
Yep.
live show. And we know that it's not like last summer where it's indefinite. We don't know. Like we know
around the
two
corner.
to 3 to 4 months where it's just around the corner. We're going to get there. We still got to hold on a little bit longer, but we're going to get there.
I mean, that's a big reason also why we started doing so many TikToks too. It's like it's putting our creative energy that we would be putting in our live show into a different means, and we've been really working on like being in front of a camera, taking takes, tracking, recording things that are transferable to other parts of us and relatively transferable to a live show. But like that's how we've been staying positive, and we can still get fatigued from TikToks.
Oh yeah, burnout is very easy
Content
on the app.
creation.
Each one takes like sometimes 8 hours, like especially
Yeah.
when we were just kind of figuring out our process, it was taking days. Like, but now we do 3 a week. We can knock them out quicker. It still took a lot of work. I mean, we have to arrange the TikTok, then we get it into the box, and then Dom mixes it, and then
edit the video.
Yeah.
And one last thing on the positivity thing, I really think that making TikToks, we have it's definitely the best our social media has ever been, in the history of this band, and because of that, we've found a lot of new fans, and a lot of new people that DM us or want to collaborate with us or ask to buy our merch and things like that. So it's very, very refreshing knowing, hey, these guys like what we do. These are new people that we wouldn't have found without TikTok, and so it's very, very gratifying and only up from here, Like we watch a lot of shonen anime, which means you gotta go up, you take everything up,
Well, me and Dom do.
Yeah.
I'm a freaking anime nerd, dude. So bring shonen mentality to the band, dude. You bring it up with your friends.
I'm just like generating ideas for a whole other segment we could do, guys.
Oh yeah, dude, we're here for it, man.
Go for it.
Totally cool. Always down for that. What kind of details can you give about this project you have coming up? Like you said, you're just starting to talk about it with me, but is there anything more you want to share, or most details kind of under wraps?
We've got 5 new songs that are. We've got more than that, but we've got 5 songs that we're going to be releasing. We're currently in the production process, so they're recorded. We're working on producing them. We've got probably a few more months before we're ready to fully release, and we got to do a whole release strategy and stuff like that. But hopefully around the turn of spring to summer, we're going to start releasing stuff every month. And
it's a single-driven market nowadays, and you're in 2021. So rather than us releasing, I think, a full album like Caffeine Queen, I think that people that find us, find our music, listen to us, like what we do, they'll be able to go back and listen to our album, for a long time. That's going to stay up, that won't go anywhere. So they can dive into that there. But right, like Eric was saying, we're in production right now. We'll be releasing probably about a single a month until the EP is out, and should be starting here pretty soon. So keep on the lookout.
Awesome. Congrats, guys. That's big news. That's awesome that you guys have it coming out.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, this has been great. Like, I appreciate you guys making time for this. I guess one last thing I want to ask you is, how did you come up with the band name?
Yeah, it's true. Okay, what ended up happening was Them Fantasies was taken from a lyric that we had while we were driving on the the Boston public transit.
Shout out Green Line.
Yeah, and the Green Line actually. We were just talking about like kind of like almost like lucid dreaming a little bit. We had a night before, you know, we had a long day. And one of the lyrics in the song "Them Fantasies" is, you know, these fantasies aren't anything new. Is them fantasies ain't nothing new. So we were just like, oh, you know, that sounds cool. Let's use it. You know.
So we took the name from the song. We were actually under a different band name when we wrote the song "Them Fantasies." That was like probably one of the first we ever wrote back when we were freshmen. We were 18. And that song was about, you know, that experience.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, a little bit.
The unnamed.
And that was their first drummer too, because I'm actually technically their third drummer.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I've like their first drummer was under a different name their freshman year, and then I subbed as a drummer in Spain because their new drummer Steven, shout out, good dude, could not make it to Spain, so that's how I got to know these guys. I didn't really know them at all until I was a sophomore at Berklee, and then I wasn't in the band for a bit, and then I hopped back into the band later on.
He got better. He had shonen mentality, so he did the drums.
Again.
Yeah.
Now he does business. Now he does HR. Now you guys have him
Yes,
locked in.
exactly. Only up from here.
A man of many hats, we'll say.
Oh yeah.
Try my best.
So yeah, that's kind of the history of the band name. We've been under that name since 2017.
Awesome. Cool. Well, thank you guys again. I really appreciate y'all coming on and talking about Them Fantasies and everything else you got going on. It sounds like you guys are in a good place.
Yeah, we're definitely planning this marketing strategy, looking into some PR companies to be able to help us out on a very not independent release. And so hopefully, you know, we'll see some more people listen to our stuff, and we're super excited. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stoked.